Welcome to an episode of Fintrepreneur, where we talk about all things financial services and entrepreneurship and technology. Really excited to have Israel Mazin. Did I pronounce that right, Israel?
Yes.
Excellent. Really excited to have Israel Mazin here with us, who's got a storied career as an entrepreneur in technology, in particular lately in cybersecurity, which is a topic we haven't really gotten too far into in this podcast thus far. And it's super topical as threats become more common, and particularly in fintech, where you've got a lot of sensitive information and money moving around. So really excited to learn more today. To start us off, Israel, I'd love to just get to know you and your story a little bit better. You know, starting from way back in the day, I understand you worked in IT in the military, and maybe that's where your career started, and then you became an entrepreneur. So, tell us your story and how you came to be who you are today.
Thank you, David, and thank you for having me here today. Yes, I have long background in especially cyber and creating startup companies. Started, yes, in the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, in the computer center. And after I left, I started to create companies. From 90s, we create always with the same team and the same partners. They were with me in the army, also in the computer center. And we founded Memcyco that after a few years become a public company in the NASDAQ. We acquired companies, and then we exit of over $500 million, acquired by Computer Associate. And then we continue and founded a few more companies, especially in cyber, but also in performance management. And then, so long background in building worldwide software companies. And about 3 years ago, we founded Memcyco to actually, after we talked with more than 50 potential clients and analysts and CIOs, CISOs, and understand that that there is a scams and account takeovers and becoming more and more problematic and growing significantly.
Yeah, I've got some firsthand experience actually with account takeovers. It was one of my investors early on in my business got his email taken over somehow, and then sent a bunch of emails back and forth, very professional with me, asking to redeem his investment. And his signature was forged in some of the paperwork, like very sophisticated hack. And this was an investor that we had previously only dealt with over email. And so this is early on in our company's history. And so it was not in our muscle memory to confirm over the phone everything. And we were just dealing with him the way we were used to dealing with him. And so no alarms kind of went off. And, that hack ended up being successful. We actually ended up wiring some money to the wrong place. So that hurt a lot. It was a relatively small amount of money. Like, we survived it. We ended up splitting the financial impact. So I paid the investor back half of what it was. He was the one who got hacked, but I could have also done things to make sure that, I checked things a little bit better. Now we're so much bigger as a company, and we have so many more processes to make sure something like this wouldn't sneak through. But, there's nothing like experiencing one of these things yourself to understand how damaging it can be and how stressful it can be.
Yeah.
So, talk to me more about, and that was 10 years ago. How have the threats been evolving? Now you have deep fakes and AI and stuff like that. And talk to me more about how your company today addresses these problems. How can you help minimize these issues for people?
Yeah. So yes, what you mentioned, as you said, 10 years ago, now it's become much more significant, not just to employees, but also or between suppliers or investors, also to all your customer base. If it's retail or financial, mostly financial, really a lot of attacks on them because you can steal a lot of money with many potential users of them, customers. Also, we see airlines, even stealing like frequent flyer points and have the free tickets and many other stuff. We see it all over today. And account takeover, actually, that you steal the credential and then succeed to enter to your account and steal money or goods or whatever, data, it's become more and more significant every year. It seems that it's growing almost double, and maybe 3 times will be in the next few years. Because as you mentioned before, AI and deepfake, and today the hackers are also using, it's much easier for them to do it because they are using AI, they are using kits like phishing kits to create fake sites or fake applications or send you email, as you mentioned, fake communications. You believe that you are actually communicate with the right, with the legitimate organization, your bank or retail or whatever, and then you give your credentials and they use it. Sometimes they sell it in the dark web, sometimes they access immediately and then transfer money. And they are doing, sometimes we see with customers that we have that happen like thousands or dozens of thousands, it's like a lot every month. The issue that organizations now become more aware because first it costs them. It costs them to find what is the problem. It's a lot of manual stuff and a lot of connection between a few products and fraud and cyber and also OPEX and also reimbursement. So more than 70% of the users say our organization are actually need to pay us, need to reimburse us. They believe that this is their problem. Even they enter to fake sites and actually the organization said, well, you enter to this, they still expect their organization to reimburse them. And today you can see more and more regulation that force the organization to pay them. So they need to show that they have enough protection to do it. So I think that you see, as I said, phishing kits, phishing as a service, many other way that even every child today can, you don't need to be sophisticated hacker to create these scams. And the current solution that were in the market before were more reactive, more, for example, to find fake sites. So they scroll and more threat intelligence to find them on the internet and then take them down. But it's not proactive approach. And I think this is today, you need more cutting edge technologies that understand that also the hacker changed a lot and they have more sophisticated way to do these scams. And this is why you see these scams growing significantly in the last few years.
Talk to me about your current product. How are you? I'm sure it's complicated because these things are complicated, but if you were to sort of summarize in, a few sentences that a layperson can understand, like how is your software protecting companies and from these hackers?
Okay. So the main also differentiation between us to other ATO protection that we protect the employees, but especially the customers of the organization, the users. Most of the ATO protection were more for the employees, for the organization themselves. Now, what customers told us, and this is why we developed this solution, we don't have a real protection to our users, to our customers. So they are exposed. So what we develop is very unique solution that actually is detect, protect, and do action in real time. We can catch that there is a scam in real time if it's like fake sites or fake application or fake credentials, or it's very broad protection. But the main uniqueness that we have, that we do it in real time, that actually we can detect it in real time and then have protection capabilities. For example, we can scramble the credential that the hacker gets and he doesn't get the real credential, and we mark them. So when he try to access, we catch immediately that it's the hacker and not the real users. We have what we call device DNA, that actually we know very unique technology to know all the authorized devices of the users, and we catch immediately the behavior that it's not a user, it's a hacker. And many more technology that also include AI to correlate between all of these events. So if in one sentence, we give full solution of detection, protection, and action after.
Fascinating.
How does, I had an example a couple of weeks back where I got a fraud call, and your Microsoft account has been hacked or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I used to like messing around with these guys and just kind of hang on the phone and waste their time a little bit. But now, so I was doing that, and then my wife looked at me and gave me the eye, said, "You better get off the phone." And then I realized that nowadays there's also voice, like the AI stuff can also duplicate your voice and things like that. So Dave was talking about earlier, it was all through email. Now we call and verify stuff like that, right? And actually have a conversation. The concerning part is that now they can also replicate your voice and do that kind of stuff. So, what is best practices to avoid this kind of stuff?
Yeah. So at the end, what they want to do, That's from your credential. For example, they tell you, your Microsoft account is actually hacked. We need to solve it for you. So please give us your credential or give us to access to your machine, and we'll solve it now online. They can access to your machine because most of the people say, oh yeah, I must solve it. So they access to your machine and actually, or you give them your credential. Most of the people give them. And as you said, they feel even it look like it comes from Microsoft or from the bank, your bank, or the voice of your, the one that because as you said, they can do like fake your voice. And actually you give them their credential. This is the easiest way for them. And then after they access to your account and, access, and then they can do whatever they want or access to your computer. The way that we protect it today, for example, in this case, we know exactly who are your devices, the authorized devices. And we also know that you come from remote access. So even you give them access to your computer and the access from remotely, we catch it. We know to catch it. And then say, okay, it's not you. So there are a lot of mechanisms, but this is something that they call people, especially more, older people that less understand. You talk to them and try, to manipulate them. But most of the people will give them the credential or give them access to the computer because they are more emergency. They said, if you don't give me now, your account, transfer money from your account. So you give them access to your computer, they access remotely and transfer with you money. We know that it's come from remote access, for example, or we know that it's come from not authorized machines or different behavior. So we collect all the data together and know 100%. By the way, customers that working with us today, financial institution, retail, education, logistics, they are telling us you are accurate more than 90% when you discover that it's a fraud, that it's a scam.
Interesting. So not a lot of false positives.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, we filter a lot with AI algorithm to filter the false positive. Yeah. And this is very important because after they see that we are really accurate, we have a fraud that feeding the fraud engines of these organizations. So then everything automatically, we feed this information to the fraud engine, and then they decide, okay, I need to tell them to change password. I need to cancel credit card or other stuff.
Fascinating.
So it's fintech. You said financial institution. I assume the highest risk industries for this kind of fraud would be financial institution and fintech. Is that correct, or is there other industries that
one
get
of the
more?
most attacked one. Yeah.
Yeah.
After like all the social media users, that is the first one. That the second one is like financial and fintech. Yeah.
Yeah, because I assume if you're doing fraud with retail, there's different ways of doing fraud, but like somehow getting access to the product and having to sell the product. With financial institution, the actual product is the money.
It's the money. Yeah. By the way, retail also, it's true. Financial is the most attacked one after social media users, but retail also, what they are doing, there are a few ways. They are selling fake goods or stolen goods. We have retail customers in Europe and and they actually send them and scam them to send them a fake goods, and they lose money because then the customer don't get the right one. They approach the original, the legitimate one, and want the money back because it's not what they ordered. And they give them the money back because they don't want to destroy the reputation. So this is why. But yes, it's the most one is the financials. Yeah.
Interesting that you've mentioned that regulations are now forcing the original, legitimate company to reimburse customers, even though the customer was the one who got hacked or was subject to a phishing attack. So which countries are doing a lot of regulation in this respect? It's the first I've heard of that. It makes sense that there should be some responsibility on the legitimate company to ensure that it's not, super easy for the customers to get hacked and then mess with them. But yeah, it's an interesting line. Like, where do you draw that line of responsibility, and which countries are, taking the most action in this respect?
Yeah, so we see it in the UK, we see it more in Europe, we start see it in Australia, and I believe in also the US will go after them. But we saw, for example, that Citibank was sued by customers that said that someone scammed them and they didn't want to pay them. So they actually they sued not but just because, but also I think by New York City, I think, or someone like this. So it become more and more more in UK and Europe, and I think it will go also to the US.
Interesting. Where are all these bad actors? Is there certain parts of the world where, is it Russia? Is it like, where are the skill sets for this? And I wonder if there's like some geopolitical angles or other ways to try and kind of stomp out this behavior.
Yeah, it's all over. Yeah, Russia a lot. It can be also from Far East, Nigeria, Africa, but it's also from Western countries because it's very hard to catch them. It's very hard because they're using VPNs. We know also to catch if it's coming through VPNs. It doesn't matter for us, but they are trying to hide themselves. But mostly it's coming from Africa or Russia or some India maybe, but still we see it all over. Yeah, that it's coming attacks from all over. And many times you don't know from where they are coming because they are using VPN, try to scam and to manipulate the organization.
It just
China also, by the way, China.
It just blows my mind that there's people who sit around all day and do this stuff, and this is how they earn a living and they live with themselves somehow. And I think it's probably a little easier because they don't see their victim, right? It's theoretical, so they can kind of compartmentalize that in their mind and move on. But that's crazy to me.
Yeah, of course, because today, you don't need to rob a bank. You are sit somewhere very far, nobody knows where, and start to transfer and take, money of innocent people. And the fight against them, it's like very important, I think also governments need to fight. And this is why the regulation starting to be more, because, innocent people that save money, suddenly they see that their account is empty, and it's like, think about people like this. They are saving many years of their life, and suddenly some of them saving disappear, or all of their saving. And for people, it's catastrophe. And as you said, they are sitting somewhere. You don't need to come and with a gun and rob a bank like in the past. It's much easier. And today it's even easier because all AI and kits and services that you do subscription to these services and attack the users. So yeah, people are sitting somewhere and scam people, and this is how they do money. And it's crazy. I think we fight against it. Government need to fight. I think regulation is critical to have more and more regulation because governments need to fight against it.
Yeah, there's no one solution. It's an entire economy and affecting all sorts of stakeholders, and we all need to come together.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about government, Israel, as we're recording this today, something that's very on topic, which is, governments dealing with the threat of data security and things like that, like the app, like in TikTok in the US, right? Do you see that happening more and more across the world where governments are looking at specific apps coming from a different country and banning it or restricting it or whatever it is?
I believe that we'll see more and more awareness of governments. We see it already now. At the end, you need to force organizations to use really cutting-edge technologies because there are more and more to protect their customers. They need to show and prove that they did the maximum that they could. You cannot close it completely, but to show, and I think this is where the regulation will be, like you have SOC 2, so it'll be regulation that you need to prove as organization that you made everything to protect your users. And if not, you need to reimburse them. Now, to show it, you need to have these tools, because if not, it's like a nightmare for the organization, how we prove it. It's a lot of data, a lot of points. So this is where we see our success, because they understand that they need tools like us that definitely can give them the full protection, and they can prove that they did it also to the regulators. So I think that, yes, I think that governments more and more aware of it, and this is why we see more and more regulation. Yes, if they'll see, I believe, some application that they believe breach, data protection and all of this, yes, I think that they'll act on it.
Let's bring the conversation back to your business a little bit more. 3 years in now, it sounds like you've built quite a lot of IP in that 3 years. Talk to us about, and it also sounds like you're bringing a lot of the same team together in each of the companies. I guess that allows you to be really effective pretty quickly. But yeah, how are you, funding the business? At what stage are you? Talk to us about your typical customers, the journey of, and am I pronouncing it correct? Memcyco.
Memcyco, you pronounced it correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So tell us more about, the entrepreneurial journey of that thus far and where you see the next few years taking you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So first, when we started a few years ago, we talked with, as I said, many potential clients and like CIOs, CISOs, analysts that actually we knew from the past because we did it and we sold them in the past, products that were very successful. And we try to understand what are the big threats that they have, the real pain, that they are ready to pay for it and they didn't think that it was solved correctly. And this is how we understand this problem of account takeover of users, of organizations. Most of them said, we are protected, almost protected inside, but we don't protecting really our customer base, and it's hurting us. So we started to understand what they really need. And by the way, the product evolved a lot in the last few years. After we started to install it with customers and we got from them feedback, we added it to the product. And the product today, it's much more mature than it was 2 years ago or a year ago, with many more features, with many more protections, with AI that actually correlate between events, filter false positive, integration to fraud and SIMs. And so actually our customers are, as you mentioned before, who are the most attacked one. So it's firstly financial institutions. They were our first customers. Secondly is retail was. So our second sector. Later after it was retail. We saw that they are also attacked a lot, as we mentioned before. So it's evolved from, but mainly we started with where, as you said, stealing money, the financial institutions, credit card companies, that they are trying to steal the credit cards. Of what they told us before, we feel that we are more blind. After we installed your product, and what was most important for us, the installation, this is what we have from each of them, must be very easy, agentless. We have agent, the user will not install any agent. We need to have it agentless. This is why it was so complicated. That the user, for you as a user, if you access the bank, it's transparent. You don't feel anything, we don't know anything, unless we alert to you, but mostly we alert to the bank with all the details and protecting. Even, behind the scene, you don't know, but we protected you with this decoy credential and all of this. So we developed it as an agentless solution. We have large customers that install it or implement it in less than half an hour. A day after they start see the value. Many of them telling us, we feel that we were blind before, we started to see now. And this is exactly what the product is doing. It's give you to start understand what is really happening to your customers, how really they scammed, when they scammed, who are the users. We can tell you all the users that got scammed, and also to give them protection. And this was the main goal of the product. And we expanded it a lot with our current customer base. We grew we are growing 3 times year over year in ARR.
Amazing. And how big is your team today? And are you, venture backed? Are you self-funding?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we funded ourselves. And then we are venture backed. We raised the seed money of $15 million in 23. And actually, we have today about 60 people, more than about 20 in the lab, and then sales, marketing, and all the support and all the rest. As if you look on my career and my team, we had companies, we did exits. Now we took it public. We want to build now in the digital trust space, in these scams of digital trust and all of this, account takeover, to build a large independent company. So we refuse to a few offers if we are willing to sell the company, to integrate to one of the big companies. We said, no, we want to be the big company in the next 10 years. So actually the goal is to do a round, I believe, during this year, because we raised 50 million, so we still have enough, and we have customers, so we have revenue. But we plan to do a round, I believe, till the end of this year. We already have many investors that approach us, so we'll decide when is the right timing. So yes, we'll continue to be venture backed and grow this company to be a large independent company in this space. Yeah.
And with the A round, do you expect to hire more in every function, or is it going to be more concentrated within sales and marketing, or more within engineering? What are you how are you going to push the gas?
Yeah. We want, because we have more and more, we want to give suite of products. If you look on former companies that we had, we started with 1 product, we finished with 7. So we plan to give suite of products in digital trust, in digital personation, account takeover, So I will invest also in engineering, but focus a lot in sales and marketing to grow continue grow the company 3 times year over year in the next 5 years.
Awesome.
So, John, just one last question on, I just out of curiosity for a company like you guys, you launch with a product, and then on an ongoing basis, I guess you're constantly testing your product. Do you guys do that in-house, or how do you do that? Do you basically hire hackers and have them try to break into your system, or how do you maintain the level of security, and the comfortability you have?
Question, by the way, in cyber, it's also cat and a mouse between the cyber companies and the hackers. So yes, we have also inside the company some people that know how to try to hack us, but we are using also outside. Yes, we are using that are not part of the company, and we tell them, okay, try to attack us, try to attack our users or like organization like us. And yeah, so it's true, exactly what you said. We are using both internal but also outside hackers, but positive hackers, the good ones. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Right.
And also customers of us, we have some customers that are design partners that we try on their tests before we are releasing it. And they try also, some of them really amazing, doing a lot of these tests and then tell us, here we think that you need to improve. Here it's amazing, So we have also customers that are more design partners of us.
Nice.
I read about CFO who got on a Zoom call with all of his company, and there was like 8 people on the call, and they had a whole conversation amongst each other and convinced the CFO to send a big wire, only to later find out that all of those images were fake. They were all deep fake videos and audio. I know that's a different type of cybersecurity issue than the one that your company addresses, but given you're a cybersecurity expert, I'm just curious about your opinion on, this stuff's getting really scary, and especially with AI. So I wonder, how do you think about the next 10 years and how AI is going to increasingly make companies vulnerable? And I guess it's a tool for the hackers, but it's a tool for the protector like yourself as well, right?
It's true.
But feels like things are changing really quickly and becoming more and more like a Black Mirror episode, which is a TV show about these kind of situations. So yeah, wondering what you kind of worry about when it comes to AI and how it's going to affect the world as it relates to cybersecurity.
Yeah. So first, AI is very strong power tool, to do things much better and faster. And as you mentioned before, also through the positive side, but it's also bring all the negative with it, that this hacker can use it and fake like videos and fake also data. By the way, when you open it with Gen AI. So this is the main concern of organizations today, that how I protect myself. So I believe that you can definitely be very important tools to organization in the next 10 years. Like if you look on cloud, 15 years ago, organizations were concerned, afraid what to do, how to use public cloud. And then it's evolved until, now you have all the infrastructure around. I think will happen much faster with AI, that organization today afraid to open it to outside where today you have chatbots that actually using Gen AI, but then it's vulnerable that they, you don't know which data they are, what they are doing. So I believe that it will evolve, and I don't think it will take 10 years, maybe 5, that the organization will use more and more AI and Gen AI and also open it outside, but then you'll need more and more protection against. So also the cyber and protection to use Gen AI will become much stronger in the next 5 to 10 years. I believe more 5 years. It will not take so long. Also, hacker will use it, as you mentioned before. But when you have, for example, more protection tools like this, then it can immediately detect that it's not the CFO. And this is what will happen, I believe, and will evolve in the next few years. We also plan to give some, when we are talking about chatbot and impersonation, so we have in the roadmap to protect all against of this Gen AI, scams. But as I said, it's still in the beginning, and organization afraid to use public. It's outside, more internal. They are using it. But it will evolve, I believe, in the next 5 years.
Yeah, it sounds like the moral of the story is if you're very proactive as a company you should be able to, stay a step ahead and protect yourself. But,
Yeah.
The world's not going to end. But for those companies that, don't take it seriously enough, they're going to end up paying some kind of price at some point, which, in a way, I shared that story earlier about how I paid a price early on. And in a way that was a blessing, because it really strengthened my muscle when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, I think it's guaranteed that if you're not on top of it, you're going to get hit with it. So yeah, the stakes are higher, but there are more and more companies rising to the occasion like yours that are ensuring we stay protected.
Yeah, it's true. And it will evolve in the next 5 years. I think that first the early adopters will start with this and open it more. And as you said, some of them will get scammed and hit, but this is how it's evolving, and then more and more use it. And then when it will be protected and the right implementation, it can be huge.
Yeah, it would be nice if the protection side got the upper hand, such that the hacker side, it becomes a less and less viable career, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and you have
true.
smaller percentage of your society sitting around doing this, and maybe instead, just maybe, doing something productive with their lives instead.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
If you're that talented, why not just build something legit? I don't get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are some of them very smart, as you said. Yeah, and they can build legitimate companies. It's true.
So Israel, again, thanks for being here today. We usually close off the episode with a question that's a bit more from 10,000 feet, right? And more of a preference for you. If you are looking back 10 years from now, what do you hope to see happen in your industry?
Okay, so I believe that 10 years from now, we'll see more and more the scam will grow significantly because of hackers and these scammers using AI by themselves, and it's become easier to attack, with kits, with phishing as a service. So it's become, you don't need to be sophisticated hackers. Child can do today scams. And when Gen AI will become more and more, organization will use it, so it will open many more scams. So I believe that in one hand, we'll see a significant increase in scams and fraud and account takeover to steal especially money. As we said, also goods and other, but especially money, because it's the easiest. You don't need anything except transfer the money. But on additional to this, we'll see more and more companies, innovation from companies like Memcyco and others that come with the cutting edge technologies that using AI, but on the positive side, to protect these organizations. And I believe that also governments, as I mentioned before, will create more and more regulations and cooperate to actually protect against these scams. So together with regulations and innovation technologies like us and many others that in many other activities and frauds to protect against this kind of account takeovers and scams, will close more the gaps to reduce significantly these scams. But it will take time because the hacker becomes sophisticated using these tools. And we as a company and other companies, other cyber security companies also become more and more sophisticated to protect against these scams. So I believe that it will be growing significantly in the next few years, but also we'll see growing significantly the detection and protection of these scams.
So the number of attacks is going to go up, there's no question. But if protection improves as well, perhaps the number of successful attacks might actually go down.
Yeah, exactly. The successful attacks can go significantly down.
Yeah, that's a positive note to end on for the future. Israel, this has been a real pleasure. I learned a lot today.